Time has expired, and I'll recognize the gentleman from Alabama, Mr. Bachus.
Thank you. Chairman Bernanke, I want to acknowledge that you have been talking about transparency for several years, and you've been an advocate on the board, and I appreciate that. And I think there are distinctions we've drawn between transparency when it comes to the 13.3 actions in monetary policy, and I think there's a consensus on the 13.3 programs and some of the extraordinary things, and I think that we can get there on the monetary policy. So, as part of your quantitative easing strategy, you're going to stop purchasing mortgage-backed securities at the end of this month. Does that indicate that you believe maybe that housing has reached a sustainable level?
Well, the housing market, Congressman, as we all know, is still quite weak, and we've just seen some very weak sales numbers just the last few days. But we do believe that, well, first of all, that the mortgage markets are performing better, and mortgage rates are quite low from an historical perspective. And moreover, our purchases of mortgage-backed securities were also intended to create better conditions in private credit markets more broadly, and we're seeing, for example, record issuance in the corporate bond market. So we think that our program has been effective. We announced quite a while ago that that we were going to stop those purchases, taper off those purchases at the end of this quarter. When we did that, we, of course, were concerned that when we stopped, that mortgage rates might pop back up, or we might see some fallback in financial conditions. We'll, of course, continue to watch that situation, but so far, there seems to be very little negative reaction, which is encouraging, and that would allow us to stop our purchases without concerns about the implications for the economy.
And I guess that is some indication that you believe we may have reached sustainable prices in housing, that at least the short-term prospects for housing is more stable? Well,
many, as I've said in the past, knowing the correct value for any asset is a difficult challenge, but many economists have pointed out that the ratio of house prices to rents, for example, is very much in a normal range. And between low mortgage rates and the decline in house prices, affordability of housing for people who want to buy homes is now at a very, very good level.
All right, thank you. I appreciate, some of the actions that were taken in the financial markets by the Fed will result in an economy that was under extreme stress. I'm not sure the American people realize the challenges, and they were somewhat unprecedented. And so I think some of the actions that were taken were because the financial markets were in what I've said was a heart attack or a stroke condition almost. Having said that, we want to avoid that in the future. And my concern is we're talking about regulation, we're talking about tools to deal with this. But, and I'd like your thoughts on this. I don't believe that even with all the tools and all the regulations we put, if we don't get our fiscal house in order, the Congress, you're not going to be successful. And, I think, reining in the growth of debt is simply going to be impossible for you to do your job if we don't do ours. And I've listed budget reform, entitlement reform, tax reform. I think, do you agree that those are critical for Congress to take action and do that now to avoid another catastrophic event, whether it's 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years from now?
Well, Congressman, we have very high deficits this year and next year, and given the severity of the recession, it's unlikely we could get a balanced budget, in the next year or two, and I think we all understand that. But my concern is that our projections, whether they come from the administration or from Congress or from outside analysts, still show deficits between, say, 2013 and 2020 of between 4, 5, 6, 7% of GDP, which will, if that happens, would cause the ratio of debt outstanding to our GDP to rise to very high levels. I think while that's still some time in the future, the risk exists that even today, investors, creditors might become concerned about our ability to maintain a sustainable fiscal position. So I think it is very important that the Congress, I realize it's very difficult, but the Congress try to develop a plan, a program, an exit that will be a credible plan for returning to a sustainable fiscal situation over the next few years.
Thank you.
Gentleman's time is expired.